She was warm. You didn't have to force anything. The conversation flowed. She laughed. She leaned in. There was something there. You could feel it. And for a moment, everything just made sense. Then something changed. Not gradually, not in a way you could clearly explain, just suddenly. She became colder, more distant, harder to read. Replies slowed down, energy dropped. And that connection you felt, it started slipping. And now you're left with a question that doesn't have a clear answer. What happened? Was it something you said? Something you did? Did she lose interest? Or worse, was she never really interested to begin with? Because here's the part that makes this even more confusing. You didn't imagine the warmth. It was real, which makes the cold even harder to understand. And this is where most people get it wrong. They assume the shift means it's over. But the truth is, that change in behavior, it doesn't always mean what you think it means. Because when someone goes from warm to cold, there's always a reason. But that reason isn't always visible on the surface. Section 1. The illusion of consistency. Let's start with something simple, but important. People expect consistency. If someone is warm today, we expect them to be warm tomorrow. If they show interest once, but human behavior doesn't work like that, especially when emotions are involved. Attraction isn't linear. It doesn't move in a straight line. It fluctuates. It rises, it drops, it stabilizes, it shifts. And when you don't understand that, every change feels like a loss. Think about the first few interactions. Everything feels easy, light, natural. There's no pressure, no expectations. You're both just present. But as soon as something starts to build, the dynamic changes. Now there's awareness. Now there's meaning. Now there's something to lose. And that's where behavior starts to shift. We assume it will continue. Section 2. When feelings create resistance. Sometimes, the moment things start feeling real is the moment things start pulling back. Because warmth is easy when nothing is at stake. But when emotion enters the picture, that's when things get complicated. She might start thinking, why do I like this person? Is this going somewhere? Am I getting too invested? And those thoughts create tension. Not external tension, internal tension. So instead of leaning forward, she leans back. Not because she doesn't feel anything, but because she feels too much. And if you've ever caught yourself pulling away from something just to understand it, you already know what this feels like. Section 3. The shift from emotion to control. When things are warm, they're emotional, spontaneous, unfiltered. But when someone starts pulling back, they're trying to regain control. Control over their emotions, their investment, their vulnerability. Because being warm means being open, and being open means being exposed. And not everyone is comfortable with that. So what looks like coldness might actually be protection. Section 4. The observation phase. Now here's something most people don't notice. When warmth decreases, observation increases. She might not be engaging the same way, but that doesn't mean she's disconnected. In fact, she might be paying even more attention, watching how you respond, watching your behavior, watching your reactions. Because distance reveals things that closeness hides. When everything is going well, anyone can look confident, relaxed, in control. But when something shifts, that's when your real behavior shows. Do you chase? Do you panic? Do you overthink? Or do you stay steady? Because that response tells more about you than anything you say. Section 5. When interest drops. reality. Now, let's be honest. Not every situation is deep or emotional. Sometimes, interest just drops. Not dramatically, not intentionally, just gradually. And this is where people struggle the most, because they try to hold on to the version of the interaction that existed before. But attraction doesn't stay static. It either grows or it fades. And when it fades, the warmth goes with it. And the hardest part? Accepting that without overreacting. Section 6. The role of energy and dynamics. Attraction is not just about connection. It's about energy. The feeling between two people. The unpredictability. The engagement. When that energy is strong, warmth feels natural. But when that energy becomes predictable, routine, or stagnant, the emotional pull weakens. And when that happens, behavior changes. So sometimes, she didn't change. The dynamic did. Section 7. Your reaction changes everything. Now here's the most important part of this entire conversation. What you do after she becomes cold determines everything that happens next. And without realizing it, they push things further away. Because when someone pulls back and you move forward aggressively, you create imbalance. And imbalance creates pressure. And pressure kills attraction. Section 8. The correct response. So what does the right response look like? It's not about playing games. It's about stability. You don't chase. You don't withdraw completely. You stay grounded. You allow space without losing your center. Because confidence is not about controlling the situation. It's about being unaffected by it. And in that space, clarity starts to appear. And once you start focusing on patterns instead of moments, everything becomes clearer. At the end of the day, people don't always act the way they feel. Sometimes they pull back when they care. Sometimes they lean in when they're unsure. Sometimes they change, not because of you, but because of what's happening inside them. And once you understand that, you stop reacting impulsively and start observing intelligently. If you've ever been confused by someone going cold, now you see it differently. And once you see it, you don't go back. I'll see you in the next one.